Yes, I want to thank y'all for inviting me down to talk a little bit about our Juneteenth and Juneteenth program. I am so proud that people have started to recognize Juneteenth because I grew up in a family and we always recognized Juneteenth as Freedom Day. And I was fortunate enough to work on the board with a guy named uh, Al Edwards from Houston, Texas, who is responsible for Texas being the first state to recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday. And I was lucky enough to have been with Miss Oberle when she first started to talk about making Juneteenth a federal holiday. And it felt so good to see the president bow his head to Miss Oberle in making Juneteenth because I grew up with a family, some of them were descended from my heritage down in Limestone County, where at one time they used to have the biggest Juneteenth celebration in the world. People used to, it was homecoming down there because the way my hair was chosen is when Gordon Granger read General Orders number 3, when the men got on their horses and came inland, they stopped at the Stroud plantation down in Limestone County and made an announcement at the Stroud plantation. And from there, men got on horseback and rode all through the state of Texas, spreading the news that freedom had come. Now, I don't know where they got the rumor or how it stayed around that Texas was the last state to get the news that slaves were free. Y'all ever hear that? Yeah, well, that's an urban myth. In 1863, when Lincoln read, when Lincoln read the Emancipation Proclamation, people kind of get the idea they put today's standards on yesterday. And when Lincoln read the Emancipation Proclamation, it was in the middle of the war, and nobody was free. They give the impression that he read it one day, and the next day, y'all, we boogaloo down Broadway, saying we have overcome. But it didn't happen that way. In some kind of way, as a matter of fact, I think Mississippi just ratified the amendment, let's see, 1995. They freed the slaves, and Louisiana didn't sign on because what happened is the federal government had promised everybody in the South that they would reimburse them for the loss of their workforce. And they never paid them for the loss of their workforce. And guess what? They never signed the 13th and 14th Amendments freeing the slaves. So if you are interested, you can go into like a thing called a black code. You can read Louisiana black code. Louisiana has strict codes. They went around to all of the plantations and they branded all of the slaves with that, y'all know the fleur-de-lis, that symbol that the saints wear on it. They branded everybody with that and told them they had to join the Catholic Church. And if they came back and your slaves weren't Catholic, they could confiscate your slave. So it took me when I see people with that big fleur-de-lis branding on them, you know, Ooh, if y'all only knew. So, I started collecting material on the. Can I show? Slides ready? All right. So, Texas is, they begrudgingly freed the slaves. The largest plantation in Texas was down in Harrison County. A guy named General Shaw down in Marshall. Texas, Harrison County had more slaves than any county in the state of Texas. That was General Shaw down there. So all of them freed the slaves at different time periods. So saying that Texas was the last state to free the slaves. Carolina, they freed their slaves in November in the fall of 1865. See, the war wasn't over. So they did, and Lincoln was debating to free the slaves because he said that if he could save the Union by freeing one slave, he'd free one. If he could save the Union by not freeing any of them, he wouldn't free any slave. He said he wanted to save the Union, and he didn't want to make the border states. It was Maryland and Kentucky, and one other state was border states. Uh, they supported the Union basically, but they kept their slaves. And he said that he didn't want to make them mad because they would join the Confederacy, and he didn't want the Confederates to get any more men. And actually, the black troops saved the war because the North was losing. They had a place. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Mansfield, Louisiana, but they had a battle down at the Battle of Mansfield, and the Union troops got dogged down there by the Confederacy. Yeah, they got a museum down there where the South won. So Frederick Douglass was telling Mr. Lincoln, arm the black man, arm the Negro troops. He said, I don't really want to piss them white folks off by getting them black folks guns. Oh, no. He said, Mr. Lincoln, we're going to lose the war if you don't get them black men, get them buttons, get them some shiny buttons, get homeboy some nice buttons, a nice suit, and a gun, and you'd be surprised. And they say, oh, well, white folks going to get real mad. But so they armed the colored troops, and they turned the war around. So if you are interested in what your folks did, they got some books on the United States colored troops, which later became the Buffalo Soldiers. Because the way the Buffalo Soldiers came about is that after the war was over, and white folks in Virginia and Carolina, they say, we don't want to see no more Negroes with guns and uniforms. Do something with them. The war is over. So the president, he say, well, we can't kick them out because they've been good soldiers. So they put them on boats and sent them down to deep South Texas, down to Brownsville, Laredo, to fight the Mexicans that were coming over the border, immigration, and protect the troops, the pioneers who were coming across the nation, coming across the settle, come in and take them people's land down in deep South Texas. So they put the colored troops down there. They were out of sight, so the folks in the South didn't have to see them no more. And then they protected Texas against immigration, people coming illegally across the border. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. That's why history is important, because history repeats itself. And And it repeats itself because the first time we ain't listening. We ain't really checking it out. You see, so that's how the Buffalo Soldiers came about. The Indians named them Buffalo Soldiers because it hair looked like buffalo hair. You can imagine down there in that dirt and that hot sun down there, and that hair was dirty and matted, and it looked like buffalo. And they named them Buffalo Soldiers, which was an honor because the Indians used the buffalo for everything. Everything on the buffalo was used for everything from its dung to its blood was used for something. Nothing on the buffalo was wasted. So when they started to kill off the Indians, they killed off the buffalo. And Dallas was the buffalo hide capital of the world. They had a family named the Solocock family. They were John Solocock used to be city councilman. His great granddaddy bought buffalo hides, and so they were bringing all of them buffalo hides into Dallas. And they used to, before they had silverware, they used to use buffalo bone for forks and spoons. It's called boneware, and so that was buffalo bone. And so that's how one of the things that made Dallas take off. See, buffalo hide industry, the biggest buffalo hide industry in the world. All right, so I brought some slides to share with y'all, and I'll talk a little bit about it. All right, so this is the Juneteenth story. All right, this is Abraham Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation. This is, but Lincoln didn't get a chance to see his dream come true. So Lincoln read that Emancipation Proclamation, but he had a lot of space in there in between. You know, he was very indecisive about that. All right, this is what's happening the day Lincoln read the Emancipation Proclamation. This was Galveston. So you see, even though Lincoln read the Emancipation Proclamation, what was going on? The war. War was still going on. So nobody was free. They didn't free no slaves in the middle of the war, you know. So this is what came to Dallas, and this is Military Order number 3. It was delivered by Gordon Granger, June 19th, 1865. That's at General Orders, the military orders. This is General Orders number 3. It says, the people in Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former master and slave, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that of employer and free laborer. The freedmen are advised to remain at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, and they will not be supported in idleness there or elsewhere. So you've been a slave for 400 years, but don't go idle. And it says, stay where you are. So one day he's your master, and the next day he what? Yes, next day he your boss. So just stay right where you are. Don't leave, because he gonna need you. So do you think that one day he said, yesterday you was my slave, but today I'm gonna pay you? Yeah, you gonna get a raise this day. This is your lucky day. You see? So nothing really what? Nothing really changed. Even though we were free to stay where we were and hope that, that I get a 401k from a man here. I get a retirement fund. Now you see how that read. See how that read. you free. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Stay put. Don't. But a lot of slaves left, and in some places they had been slaves for so long that they really didn't know anything. I can remember reading a quote where this owner's wife told the lady, the helper, that you were free to go. She said, "I'm free." She said, "Yeah, you free." She said, "Well, am I free to stay here?" And she said, "Well, you free to stay here if you want to stay." And she said, "Well, I guess I just stay right here." Because, I mean, a lot of them, they had been with these families. Like, for instance, uh, the folks in my family uh, came to America in the 1720s and came, and they had been with these families all the way to when they came to Dallas. We've been in Dallas 177 years. So, and been in America 406 years. So these families had grown, had been with each other for generations. So it wasn't like they just say, "Oh, well," because they had taken care of the kids and had raised the kids and had fed everybody and raised crops and all. So it was called a peculiar institution that the slaves had been with the family so long that the family was dependent on the slaves and the slaves were dependent on the families. So it wasn't like they were just free to go. All right, so we had the freedom to marry, freedom to wed, because up until then they had families, but they couldn't legally marry. Now, if you're doing family history, you can go into your county records, and they have a book called Cohabitation Records. And it's a record of people who were living together and had families, but not legally married. So now we have a freedom to marry and dance, the freedom to dance. Yes, we had a dance called. Anybody know what the dance, popular dance of the time was? Nobody know? Called juking. You could juke. Yes, yes. It had a place where you could juke, and it was called a what? Juke joint. But see, you got to be careful about juking. See, white folks don't like for you no juke to just come over and you just go. They say, "What's the matter with him? Is he off his medicines or on his medicine?" You see? And it was basically outlawed in America. Juking was until a guy named Glass invented a little box. You could put money in it. And as long as you put money in that box, you could juke. What was that box called? Jukebox. Yes, Glass invented the jukebox, and he introduced it at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. The jukebox, yes. Oh, Miss Johnson, Miss Johnson. That girl, Linda, yours, she's down there under that hill, and she's in that juke joint, and what's she doing? Juking. Child, put some water on my beans. Don't let my beans slip. Let me go down there and get this guy. I don't know every time that jukebox, that girl is down there. What? Juking. What? She gonna turn my house into a juke, honey? Yeah. Now see, on Sunday they call it shouting. Yeah. But on Saturday it's juking. Yeah, that was a big thing when freedom came. You see, that's like I was talking to a teacher friend of mine recently, and she was telling me she was talking to this little girl, and the girl said, "Teacher, teacher, I feel a truck coming on. So, so you had to be careful with your juking. You know, you can't just juke anywhere, anytime. Y'all didn't have to feel it with juke. Come on, you do a little move. You know, you say, no, I got this necktie on there, man. I can't juke, but I got to take this necktie off before I go to juke. But we could vote. This was our first time voting, 1867. We could vote. Wait, give me a slide. Now, if you're interested in finding out your relatives, the first men in your family to vote, each state has what they call 1867 voters registration. This is the voter registration for Texas. Carolina's got it. Georgia's got it. I think Louisiana's got it. So this is your voter index. It tells who voted. Give me a slide. Now, this is the page. This is my great-great-grandfather. He was one of the first blacks to vote in Dallas County. This is him here. And if you go to the index takes you to a page. This is the page that is on in the voter registration roll. And this little star, it indicates the Negroes that voted. So you can go, I think it might be online now. You can go in and pull up the voter index and it'll take you to the page. It tells you how long he's been in the county, what his occupation is, and the thing that's really important is you get a chance to see your ancestor's X. If he couldn't write his name, he signed it with an X. And even though they were signing an X, every X was different. It was a saying that says, every man knows his X, knows his own X. You heard that before? Yeah. Yeah. Every man knows it. Signing one letter. Just signing an X, but everybody signed it different. He'd look at it and say, oh, no, that ain't my X. I don't know whose X it is, but it ain't mine. You see? So you can go now. This is, just last week, they decided that they were going to put the Negro Baseball League records in with the Major League records. But they talk about the Negro League, but that started in like the 1920s, the Negro League. But Negroes in Texas had Texas Negro League, and they were playing baseball back as far as 1888. They were playing baseball in Texas. Fort Worth had a team, Austin had a team, Mineola had a team, Tyler had teams, and that was the big Sunday thing, is to turn out for baseball. So you see, Dallas and Fort Worth was playing each other far back in 1888. Now, this is the steamship Harvey. At one time, back in the 1890s, they were trying to figure out how to run a steamship from Dallas to Houston, to the Gulf. Well, they brought in this steamship called the Harvey. And the Harvey docked right here where we are. See, the river, the Trinity River, used to come all the way up to the edge of town, up to where to the Kennedy site. Well, then they brought in a guy named Kessler, and Kessler developed a levee system that's over there. He put in them levees. Yeah, he put in them levees to bring the river bring the Trinity River in. Anybody know what's named for Kessler? Kessler Park. Yeah, he designed the levee system. Well, it was a funny thing about the Harvey because both blacks and whites were available to use the steamship Harvey. It used to go down the Trinity River up to a point called McComas Bluff. It was like one of the highest points of Dallas. That was the party. That was the party center, McComas Bluff. Anybody know what McComas Bluff is now? The dump ground where Dallas takes all of its garbage. And at one time, it was the prettiest sight, the highest point of Dallas, where they used to take the steamship Harvey around the Trinity River and go up to McComas Bluff. Now, the white folks, they sailed down the Trinity River. The black folks, they rocked down the Trinity River on that Harvey. And they used to get mad because when they would bring it back, it would be, when the black folks got through with it, it would be so clean that the cleanup crew used to get mad. Because you know the black folks wasn't go trash. And both blacks and whites used the Harvey. It came right here where we are. This is bottom of Commerce Street. This is where the river was. So this is where they used to board the Harvey and sail up that river and go up. And the Dallas County made it the prettiest site in Dallas. They made it into a trash dump. But y'all know where the original trash dump was? Down in Joppy, which was a freedman's town. One of the original freedman's town, well, the city and the county went down there and made it a garbage dump and dumped all that garbage right in the middle of the freedman's town. Give me a slide. Now, this guy, Walter Lewis, he was a state championship prize fighter. He owned a bicycle repair shop right over where the American Airlines Center is, where it's a street used to come to there called Alamo Street. You see, that was at one time Little Mexico. See, the Mexicans came in 1910, and they made all of the bricks that was used on the buildings. The main first stop was out here on Fort Worth Avenue, where that Walmart is out there on Fort Worth Avenue. And they used to walk from Fort Worth Avenue down here. Well, the black folks, they lived, after freedom came, they moved down where the American Airlines Center is. That was called Frog Town, because at night, all of the frogs would come out the river and come up to their neighborhood. So they named it Frog Town. Well, when the Mexicans came in 1910, they moved from, the black folks at that time had moved from Frog Town up to what they now call Uptown. But that used to be called Thomas and Hall. That was a freedman's town. So they moved from down here up, and the Mexicans moved in. And they changed it to Little Mexico. Down now, Harry Hines, now that was Little Mexico. So the first Mexican to have a business, it was a guy named P.P. Martinez. And P.P. Martinez had a cigar store. Well, Walter Lewis was a boxer. And on Juneteenth, they used to have boxing matches. Well, a young man came up here from Galveston. His name was Arthur Johnson. And he trained under Walter Lewis. Anybody know who Arthur Johnson changed his name to? Huh? Jack Johnson, yes, first black heavyweight champ. That's Jack Johnson. First Negro to hold a heavyweight champ. Hold a heavyweight championship. He trained here. He lived right there where the American Airlines Center is. Yeah, that was Jack Johnson. America hated Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson wore them custom-made suit and smoked them hand-rolled Cuban cigars. he invented a thing called a monkey wrench to work on his cars. Jack Johnson trained here. He became the first black heavyweight champ, and America hated him. Anybody know the story of why America really hated Jack Johnson? What do you think? Yes, he married across the color line. And they asked, he married, what, 3 white women? Almost at one time. They asked, said, why you wanna? That's him. And the woman told him, that's the only man I ever met that was scared of nobody or nothing. He was the baddest man in the world. That's right. And he had the belt and the money to prove it. Yes. Now there's a story about Jack Johnson. Show you how racism can work in your favor when you run into racism. Jack Johnson came up to get a ticket to get on the Titanic. And they told him, say, Jack, we ain't hardly nothing on the Titanic black but coal. And turned Jack down. And say when Jack got the news that the Titanic is sunk, it said, back to racism. Come here, baby. Come here, prejudice. Let me give you a kiss. Yeah, Jack was so proud they didn't sell him no ticket on the Titanic. Yeah, this is Monroe Spike. He was a boxer here. He was very wealthy. He owned a barber shop down at a hotel that was right down the street here called Windsor Hotel. That's the Grand Windsor. Monroe Spikes operated a bathhouse and a barber shop. White men didn't cut hair. Black men were the first barbers. They said that cutting hair was menial. Now, they had a guy named Morgan down in Tyler, Texas, started Tyler Barber College. And men came from all over the country to Tyler, Texas to learn how to cut hair. So, you see, hotel barbershop in 1900, you see black men cutting white men's hair. And they got very wealthy, the barbers did. Because barbers had that disposable money that nobody could really keep track of, you know. This is John Reed. If you're interested in the Spikes family, read about the Spikes, Monroe Spikes family. He had a son named Richard Spikes. Richard Spikes invented the automatic transmission on cars, the automatic gear shift. On cars in 1932, they gave him $400,000 for his invention. You can look up Reb Spikes. They were the first black music producers. Was Reb Spikes and Johnny Spikes. They ended up creating a music in America called jazz. See, originally it was called ass music because it made you move your ass. But it didn't look good on paper. So they put a J in front of it, you see, to make it move from ass music to what? Jazz music, because it made you couldn't sit down, all that good music going on, and you're sitting in your chair like this. Just looking, you couldn't do that, you know. Now, this is John Reed. John Reed is the first black guy to graduate from high school in Dallas back in 1892. He graduated from Colored High School #1. It's now called Booker T. Washington High School. Yeah, he ended up going to Colorado being a very prosperous doctor. This is the Nelson Pitman's headquarters. This is now the Pittman Hotel down on Elm and Good Latimer. It was built by America's greatest black architect, named William Sidney Pittman, Booker T. Washington's son-in-law. If you ever go down on Elm Street, on that corner, it's a hotel. We saved it. It was built Every brick, every piece of wire was done by black carpenters. 1920, 4,000,000 were 227,757,000. This was over 100 years ago. We owned all of that land. Y'all know the only basis of true wealth? Land. Only thing God ain't gonna give us no more of. Now we play baseball, Dallas Black Giants. See what they had here? Special reservation for whites. So white people could come in and have their own section. Didn't have to worry about us. This is where they play baseball. Right there when you go around 35, where the Dodge station is on that hill up there, that's Colorado and 35. That's where this was. That's Riverside Park. Yeah, they cut the freeway through there. That's where the baseball was. This was the largest black auditorium in the South. This is what we did on Juneteenth. We came out for baseball, lemonade, ice water, barbecue. Then they brought in a guy named Edison McVeigh, one of the first Negroes to own an airplane. Here he is now. This is Edison McVeigh. Anybody know who that lady is? Bessie Coleman, first woman. She's from a place called Atlanta, Texas. I don't know if y'all know East Texas, but she's from Atlanta. First black woman to ever fly an airplane. You know, they give all that credit to Amelia Earhart, but Bessie was flying too. Yes. I want to show y'all something. Look at how blacks were living in Dallas in the 1920s. These were the black doctors. The black doctors got rich taking care of rich white people. They wasn't buying houses like this of black cotton pickers. They were the black doctors were the best doctors in town. All of the rich white folks were coming to black doctors. This is Dr. Blewett. He's the first doctor in the South to have an X-ray machine. His building is right up the street there on Commerce Street. This is Dr. Blewett's house. Look at how he lived 100 years ago. This is Dr. Ollie Bryan's house. She had a cook and a houseboy. She was a black woman. Look at how she lived. Dr. Ollie Bryan, you think? She was the first black woman dentist in the South, coming out of Meharry. All these doctors coming out of Meharry Medical School in Nashville, Tennessee. You see, and you think that they were living like this on what black folks were paying? Black folks were making their own medicine out of cow chip tea and y'all know cow chip tea? Y'all know what cow chips are? Y'all know what cow chips are? Well, when the cow and he walks off from it, well, folks come by and pick it up and boil it and put it through a rag and make medicine. Yeah. Ew. That's because she's well. Yeah, this is Dr. Ollie Bryan's house. This is up on Thomas Avenue. They tore these houses down to put up uptown. This is Dr. Leach. And how Dr. Leach was living. These black doctors. So they wasn't no poor dirt farmers. These people lived well. They had automobiles. They lived in mansions. They had cooks. Yeah, this is in the 1920s. This is Professor N.W. Harley. He had the first house over there. It's a school over in Oak Cliff named for him. Harley Elementary School. Yeah. Dr. Harley had the first house built on that strip. And they used to love coming over to his house to spend the night because he was the first black man in Dallas to have an indoor bathtub. Now, this is celebrating the Juneteenth. They brought in Jimmy Lunsford, who had a big band. Y'all remember earlier I showed y'all the Pythian Temple. This is what they would have on Juneteenth. This is Jimmy Lunsford. During Juneteenth, the white stores allowed the Negroes to come in and shop. This is Volk's shoe store. So you could go in Volk's and Clark and Winterman. I like that one because it says snappy, new, and unredeemed suits. Y'all know what an unredeemed suit is? You could take your suit to the shop and borrow money on your suit and come back Saturday night and get your suit for Sunday morning. Yes, sir. Yeah, so you could borrow money on your suit. This is Cab Calloway. Called the Heidi Ho man. Heidi. You did a thing called trucking. Trucking down the avenue. Yeah, well, they had a trucking contest, a trucking congress. This is Cab Calloway. He came. This is 1938. They were talking about making Juneteenth a state holiday then. See? Back in 1938, they were still celebrating Juneteenth. This is our first black priest. In the 1940s, instead of partying, they had prayer for the men who were in the war. They had prayer sessions. This is, he went to a school called St. Peter's School. If you ever come around the age of 35 over there, it's a school now for special need kids. But it was the black high school, Catholic high school, St. Peter's. This is our first black priest in the state of Texas. This is our first black policeman. This is Brotherton, this is Thomas. They could drive the police car on June 19th. Other times, they could not, they had to walk. They couldn't arrest anybody. If you wanted to arrest somebody, you had to hold them, go into a place, call the police, and they would come and arrest them. But on the June 19th, they could ride in this parade and drive the car, drive the patrol car. Yes. And this is June 19th. We could come to the fair. We could use the fair on June 19th. Other than that, we had to wait till Negro Day. And all of the Negroes from the whole state of Texas to come to the State Fair, Texas. Well, they got rid of that, and I'm so glad that they got rid of that. Now it's called the Grambling Prairie View game. So history does what? It repeats itself, yeah. Here we are riding, enjoying in the 1950s. This is the Kansas City Monarchs. They were the top team in black baseball. All of them worked. They were the first team to bring in night baseball. Kansas City Monarchs. Night baseball was created by black baseball, by the Negro Baseball League. They used to carry these in their bus and light up, because, white people play in the daytime. So black folks brought their own light and played night baseball. And this is what it would look like. This guy was a Dallas boy, come from Oklahoma. Name was Hank Thompson. He was the third black player to play Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson was first. Larry Doby was second. And Hank Thompson was third. They were the first all-Negro outfielder playing. They played for the New York Giants. That's Hank Thompson. Dallas boy, came from right down the street. This guy was the greatest shortstop of all time. Ernie Banks from Booker T. Washington High School over there. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Played 18 years. This is when they bought him. Bought him from the Kansas City Monarchs. His daddy, remember earlier I showed y'all that Dallas Black Giants? Well, his daddy played for the Dallas Black Giants. And then Ernie got signed by the Kansas City Monarchs. And the Kansas City Monarchs sold him to the Chicago Cubs. It's a statue out front of Booker T. Washington High School over there for Ernie Banks. And also a statue in front of the Cubs Stadium in Chicago. And these were the first two of the first three doctors to practice at a white hospital. They practiced at a hospital called St. Paul Hospital, across from Southwestern Medical on that hill up there, Harry Hines and Inwood. Used to be a Catholic, it was the Catholic hospital. See, every religion had its hospital. The Baptists had Baylor, Methodists had Methodists, Presbyterians had Presbyterian, the Catholics had St. Paul, you see. But these were the first two of the, Dr. Williams and Dr. Jordan were two of the first black doctors. They could practice in there, but they couldn't go in the lounge. They had doctor's privileges, but they didn't really have what? Didn't really have the white doctor's privileges. Now you can imagine how good these doctors were. Y'all saw the houses that these doctors were living in? It was his son, Dr. Williams' son, is a very personal friend. He was over the ENT at Southwestern Medical. Now the top doctor at Parkland is a black doctor, Dr. James O. Griffin Jr. His daddy was the president of Jarvis College. And he was also my principal out of a school called Hamilton Park. Yeah, all right. And any questions? I love to take questions.
I do.
Yes, sir.
If the former slaves and the families had a symbiotic relationship, but now the former slaves were going to work for them, who negotiated the salary, the pay? What did you base that on?
You based it on getting as much crop in, but it changed. They went to a thing called sharecropping. And that was the agreement. I paid for the tools, and I paid for the seed. You supply the labor. And when the crops are in, I will split it. They work for halves. Sometimes they work for quarters. They work for thirds. But they kept this on us. You know what this is? The book. So when you needed money or you needed something, they would write it down in the book. And when it came time to you getting paid, they pull out the book. And they say, well, now you know you borrowed money on this, and you know your son came up. Remember, Junior went to jail. I had to go down there. He's down there at Lou Sterrett and Frank Crowley. And I had to go to the book and I had to go and get him out, you see. And so now you owe me for that. And when it was all over, you owed him. So now you working on paying off like a payday loan. You know, you ain't paying on the principal yet. You still paying on the interest. You see, and the principal is adding up while you paying on the interest. You see, same kind of stuff. You know, and that was a good question. Thank you. Any more? Come on, y'all, give us a question about something you heard or something you read. This is Juneteenth. Come on.
Do you facilitate tours at the African American Museum?
Yes.
You were part of my birthday package.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, I'm still doing that. I love that. People coming from all over, coming in there. You got one group of people trying to find themselves, another group of people trying to lose themselves, and another group of people just ain't got nowhere else to go. And yeah, that's we've got to support that. Yeah, any more questions? Come on, y'all, get some questions. Mhm. So, what year did Lincoln read the Emancipation Proclamation? Huh? What year Lincoln read the Emancipation? January 1st, 63, 1863. Yeah, and but the war ended what year? 1865. What year were we allowed to vote? 1867. Thank you. Yeah. So, I love doing this and I love taking questions because, I mean, I like this kind of stuff because you ain't got to remember it but once. You know, you ain't got, it don't change. Yes. So, I want to thank y'all for coming out. And you say people are looking at this on Zoom? Are they? All right. And I want to thank my very special friend, Commissioner John Wiley Price. And I want to thank Vincent. These are friends. They come to me when they need to name a building or something. And I like that. Yes. And I also want to thank Jason. Y'all give Jason a hand. He's been working with me on this. Yeah, he's been working with me on this. And I do want to apologize for being a few minutes late, but I hope y'all do understand. All right. And if you all are interested, I'm president of the African American Genealogy Interest Group. And if you're interested in tracing your family, doing your family histories, you can go online and look up the Dallas Public Library African American Genealogy Interest Group. We meet the third Saturday out of every month, and we will help you find families because it is a big thing now. People tracing their People tracing their families. An example is when they first showed roots. Man, my phone was jumping up and down. People called me and says, "I got an hour on Saturday. Can you help me find Kunta Kinte?" Uh, I can't do it in 30 minutes, man. Yeah, because see, I find my Channel 8 paid for my family. Find my family. We came from the Cameroon. We're members of the Bamalike tribe in the Cameroon. So this winter, I'm going over to the Cameroon to find my roots. Because if you're a tree, you got to have roots, and if you don't have no roots, they're gonna cut you down and use you to cook barbecue. Got to have roots. 'Cause one day your kids and great grandkids are gonna come to you and say, "Mama, where am I from?" Black folks they busy. Well, me and your grandpa, we was walking through the watermelon patch, and I stepped on a watermelon seed. And next thing you know, that was your mama, a little watermelon. And that can be real confusing. But they're really using DNA now to find out what kind of diseases people died from, finding people, finding runaways, finding people who are wanted. So that DNA is big business. And that's nothing but rules. I mean, if you read your Bible, anybody know the first chapter in the Bible? First chapter in the Bible. Genesis, genealogy. Yeah. What's the last chapter? Now it can be revealed. But you got to go through chapter 1 before you get to the last chapter. Ain't like a doctor come work on you, say, "I'm going to fix your heart." But I just jump right over that first chapter in the medical book. And you say, "Doc, you didn't read the chapter?" Say, no, it didn't really mean. I read it. See, the Bible is a workbook. It ain't a novel. It's a workbook. And genealogy is the very first chapter. Just imagine, everybody wants to go to heaven. And you get there, and they say, "Who are your people?" And you say, and they say, "Well, who you going to ask for?" I'm gonna ask for Big Mama. What's her name? Her name Big Mama. Well, we got a whole lot. We got a whole lot of Big Mamas up here. Which one is yours? You know, you're gonna have to ask somebody when you get to them. You know, you owe that. We owe people for us to be sitting in an air-conditioned building. We didn't get people to work for Dallas County until into the 70s. Had one black woman work for Dallas County for years and years and years. You see, open the door for us to be here. It didn't come easy. These women walk from shopping all the way to downtown to work. Cook, clean, take care of another family, walk back home and do what? Same thing, start all over again. Because they could see us. They could see us. They pictured us. I'm taking this now, but my kids ain't gonna have to take this. I'm working hard so they don't have to work hard. We owe them. Because as long as we call their name, they'll never be forgotten. So we have to speak their names. But we have to know their names. Get that, you can go online and get the 1870 census. That's the first federal census that listed us by name. So you can go on there, look for what county you're from, and look for your last name. And they'll tell you the very first people who they counted. So we owe these people. So when you read your Bible, don't read Genesis, do Genesis. Trace your families. It's more material out there. I've been doing this over 50 years. It's more material out there now than it ever was. Because you have to remember, the man that invented the internet did not get his information from the internet. He invented it. And he used the book. Because now the state of Texas is going through libraries all over the state of Texas, pulling all of the black history off the shelves, pulling women history off the shelves, pulling Mexican history off the shelves. And they gonna put all of the books that tell us about them on the shelves. They're going into libraries, y'all. They're throwing them. But any of y'all remember a magazine called Ebony Magazine? They're pulling ebonies out of the libraries. Yes, throwing away all of them old ebonies. We used to look forward to getting ebony. You see, now ebony and jet, yeah. They're pulling all that stuff off the shelves, throwing it in the garbage. Say, our kids don't need to know nothing about themselves. Elvis Presley invented rock and roll. Now, get on with me. All right, my time up. All right, thank y'all for inviting me out.
Thanks again, Mr. Payton, for that wonderful presentation. And once again, reminder, I will see y'all next week, hopefully, in the Commissioner's Court for the Black Music Month celebration at 12 o'clock on the 21st. And next slide, please. And then on July 11th, if you want to participate in the sickle cell blood drive that the Red Cross is doing, you can register with that QR code for an appointment. And yeah, thank you so much again. And thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.